Hello friends, today in this PPT we will be discussing about the unit 2 from transducers and sensors from the subject mechatronics. So unit 2 part 1 we will be discussing. I have made two PPTs so that we can divide the chapter into two parts because it is a big one. Okay, so let's begin. First, the contents: introduction, definition and classification of transducer, then selection and specification of transducer, then electromechanical resistance transducer, then linear and angular motion potentiometers, then variable inductor transducer. Then next one is rotary variable differential transformer, that is RVDT, then synchronous and resolvers, then load cells, capacitive transducers, piezoelectric materials, and piezoelectric accelerometer. Okay, so first introduction. So here these transducers and sensors, what it is, they are the primary sensing element. Okay, these sensors sense the condition, state or value of the process variable and produce an output which reflects this condition, state or value. Sometimes this secondary transducer may be employed to transform the output of the primary sensor to still another type of energy. Then examples: in the ordinary dial indicator, the indicator spindle acts as a sensor/detector for displacement. Then function of Gordon tube of a pressure gauge is in twofold. Okay. Then next, compressive load cell, the platform detects the force and gives an output in the form of deflection. Then next we will be seeing about the definition. So here the definition, what it is: a transducer is a device which is, what it will do, device which converts the energy from one form to the another. Okay, so here most of the transducers either convert electrical energy into mechanical energy or the non-electrical physical quantity to the electrical signal. Okay, the next one, functions, what it will be doing: it detects or sense the presence, magnitude and changes in physical quantity being measured. The next, provides proportional electrical output signal. The next one we will be seeing here, that the classifications of transducers. So in classifications of transducers, we can classify them into two groups, that is active transducer. So here active transducers are nothing but they are known as self-generating type transducer. So these transducers develop their own voltage or current. Okay, the energy required for production of an output signal is obtained from the physical phenomenon by when being measured. So example for this is thermocouples, thermopiles, piezoelectric pickup, photovoltaic cells. The next one is what? Second one, passive transducer. So they are known as externally powered transducer. They will not generate by themselves, but they are externally powered transducer. Okay, then here these transducers drive the power required for the energy conversion from an external power. Okay, then next one, examples: resistance thermometers, then thermistors, potentiometric devices, differential transformers, photo emission cell, etc. The next one, classification based on electrical principle involved. So first one in that is analog transducer. Okay, so in this analog transducers, these transducers convert input physical phenomena into an analog output. So they are called as analog transducers. Examples are strain gauge, thermocouple, thermistor, or an LVDT, that is linear voltage differential transformer. The next one is digital transducer. This transducer convert the input physical phenomena into an electrical output which can be in the form of pulses. So whatever the input physical is the physical phenomena, it will be converted into digital pulses. Okay, then next one is what? Classification based on electrical principle involved. Okay, then last we had seen classification based on the type of output, that is analog transducer and digital transducer. Now we'll be seeing based on the principle involved. In that, first one is variable resistance type. It is in that it is nothing but strain and pressure gauges, thermistor, resistance, thermometer, photo, conductive cells. The next one, variable inductive type, linear voltage differential transformer, reluctance pickup, then eddy current gauge. Then third type is what? It is variable capacitance type. It is nothing but capacitor, microphone, pressure gauge, dielectric gauge. The next one is voltage generating type. That is nothing but thermocouple, photoelectric cell, rotational motion tachometer, piezoelectric pickup. Then last one, fifth one is voltage divider type. That is potentiometer position sensor, then pressure actuated voltage divider. Okay. The next one we will be seeing about the selection and specification. So in selection, here we can see how we can select this transducer by first mechanical suitability. Then next one, in the terms of what this mechanical suitability will be, physical size, weight and shape, okay, and rigidness. The next one is electrical suitability in terms of sensitivity and frequency response. The next one, environmental suitability, it will be in the terms of what, magnetic field, vibration, dust and humidity, supply frequency. The next one, transducer performance. So it will be in the terms of calibration accuracy. Okay. The next one, desired measurement accuracy and range, power requirements, overload protection and vulnerability to sudden failure. And last, it will be purchase aspects. Okay. By this specifications we can select the transducer. The next one, specifications of transducers. So the while selecting the transducer, following specification should be thoroughly considered. That is range available, squaring system, sensitivity, maximum working temperature, then method of cooling employed, then mounting details, maximum depth, then output for zero input, then natural frequency, temperature coefficient of zero drift, and linearity and hysteresis. Okay, it is, you can see over there. The next one we will be seeing about electromechanical resistance transducer. So the resistance of a metal conductor, what it is given by the relationship of R is equal to rho L divided by A, where R is nothing but your resistance, rho is nothing but your resistivity of the conductor material, that is ohm meter. Then L is nothing but length of the conductor, and A is what, cross section area of the conductor. So this resistance transducer, an induction of measured physical quantity, is given by a change in the resistance. It may be classified as follows. Okay, so here mechanical varied resistance, it will be. Then next one, thermal resistance change. So mechanical varied resistance, it will be potentiometer. Then thermal resistance change, it will be resistance thermometers. And resistivity change, it will be resistance strain gauge. Okay, the next one we will be seeing about linear and angular motion potentiometer. So this linear and angular potentiometer means what? Here the such potentiometer that it will be converting the linear motion or angular motion of rotating shaft into a change in resistance. You can see over there in the diagram their angular potentiometer, that second diagram, there you can see there is an what, a slider is there. So slider, as it moves on that resistance, it will be changing the resistance. Okay, resistance of that material. So like that this linear and angular motion potentiometer will be working. So this potentiometer are used in many transducers designed to measure for what, pressure, force, acceleration and liquid level. Okay, the next, the advantages are high output, less expensive, simple to operate, then rugged construction. Disadvantage will be limited life due to early wear of the sliding ram, means due to the sliding movement there will be wear and tear. The output tends to be noisy, and in wire wound potentiometer the resolution is limited. Okay, the next one, variable inductor transducer, you can see over there in the diagram. So variable inductor transducer, here So this variable inductor transducer, that is nothing but your LVDT. This LVDT is a passive inductive transducer. Okay, so this, it is a passive inductive transducer and is commonly employed to measure force, then that is weight, pressure, acceleration, etc. in terms of amount and direction displacement of an object. So what all it will be consisting? It will consist of primary winding and two secondary windings, that is S1 and S2, which are placed on either side of the primary, mounted on the same magnetic core. Okay, then the two secondaries S1 and S2 have equal number of turns but are connected in series position. So the EMF will be E1 and E2. So here, when the core is in the center, the inductance voltage E1 and E2 are equal and opposite. Hence, what they will be, they will cancel out and the voltage V0 will be 0. So when external force is applied, you can see over there, when that pressure is applied, okay, to that knob is there, no? When the pressure is applied, so what will happen? The force moves the core towards coil S2, E2 is increased and E1 is increased in magnitude. Though they are still in phase with each other, the net voltage will be E2 minus E1. Similarly, when the movable core moves towards coil S1, so E1 will be greater than E2. So what it will be now? Voltage V0 will be E1 minus E2. Okay. So like this, in this form, this LVDT will be working. Means when we push it inside or remove it outside, that time it will be changing. Okay. The next one is what? Rotary variable differential transformer. Okay, so RVDT. So it is used for the measurement of angular displacement. It converts the angular displacement into electrical signals. Okay, so the construction of the RVDT, it is similar to that of the LVDT. Okay, the only difference in the is the coil. It is nothing but cam shaped and rotated inside the winding. So here what it will be, the shaft is there, you can see in the diagram, that it will be rotated. By rotating you will be changing, okay, that is you will be changing the inductance of that. Okay, so here only the shaft will be varying over here. The core is rotated in clockwise and anti-clockwise direction with respect to null position. When the core is at null position, the voltage will be 0. Okay, when we rotate either in clockwise or anti-clockwise, accordingly the when angular displacement to be measured is applied to shaft, differential voltage gets developed and across the secondary windings. Okay, then next one is what? Synchronous and resolvers. Okay, this synchronous is nothing but the basic electromagnetic structure of synchronous consists of wound rotor and a wound stator concentrically arranged to give adjustable mutual coupling between the windings of the two members. Okay, so this synchronous and resolvers are nothing but a class of AC electromechanical variable coupling transformer devices primarily employed with angular data and computing system. So here the rotor, over here you can see in the diagram, the rotor is there, that is the rotor is wound with a single phase concentrated winding. Okay, then and the stator is wound in the three-phase distributed winding connected with Y configuration. Okay, it is in Y configuration. So the magnitudes of these voltages depend upon the angular position of the rotor with respect to the stator. You can see in the diagram the rotor and stator. The next one, resolver. So here an inductive resolver is essentially a variable transformer with a rotor electromagnetic coupling between the primary and secondary winding. So between the primary and secondary winding, the rotor will be there over here. Okay, so here in this type angle position resolver, two windings are provided at right angles to one another. Okay, the windings are located in such a manner that the output voltage has an amplitude proportional to the sine or cosine of the input. Depending upon the designer particularly application, either the rotor or stator may be used as the primary. So here rotor or stator may be used as the primary depending on the design. Okay, then next one is what? Load cells. So load cells are elastic devices that can be used for measurement of force through indirect methods. So elastic means which can be pulled and again it will go it back into the same position when we leave it. Okay, so load cells utilize an elastic membrane as a primary transducer and strain gauge as the secondary transducer. When the combination of strain gauge and elastic member, it will be what it is called as the load cell. While designing load cells using strain gauges, the following factor should be considered, that is stiffness of the elastic. The next one, optimum position of the gauge on the element, then provision of compensation of the temperature. Okay, then here you can see that is when the large load are to be measured, the direct tensile compressive member may be used, whereas in the case of small load, strain amplification is provided. Okay, the next one is hydraulic load cell. You can see in the diagram, that is your hydraulic load cell. Here the force variable is impressed upon the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is there, on that the force will be put. Okay, so which deflects and thereby transmit the force to the liquid. So when you press on that diaphragm, the liquid, what it will happen, the force will be applied to the liquid and the liquid momentum contained in the confined space has a preload pressure. Okay, on the application of the force, the liquid pressure increases and equal force magnitude will be divided. Okay, the pressure is transmitted to and read on an accurate pressure gauge. So when you apply on the diaphragm the force, the liquid will be exerting force on it. Okay, so that will be disturbed, that liquid. Due to that, whatever the disturbance is there, that pressure it will be showing in the pressure gauge. Okay, so like that it will be working. The next one is pneumatic load cells. Okay, next one here it is pneumatic load cells. So how they will be operating, that is using the force balance principle. Okay, so here for any constant applied force, the system will attain equilibrium. Okay, then when we open the specific nozzle, that time the corresponding pressure is indicated. Okay, the next one is what? Strain gauge, that is load cells. So here it will be nothing but these cells will convert weight or force into electrical outputs that will be provided by the strain gauge. These outputs can be connected to various measurement instruments and we will get the readings. Okay, the next one, capacitive transducer. This principle of operation of capacitive transducer is based upon the equation of capacitive of parallel plate capacitor. So it is nothing but C is equal to epsilon A divided by D, where epsilon is nothing but epsilon R into epsilon naught into A divided by D. So epsilon is nothing but epsilon R epsilon naught, that is permittivity of the medium. Epsilon R is relative permittivity, epsilon naught is permittivity of free space. The next one, A is what? Overlapping area of the plates, and D will be your distance between the two plates. So any change in the area or change in the distance between the plates, you will get the change in the capacitance over. Okay, the next one, capacitive transducer. So you can see over there in the diagram, these are the diagram for your capacitive transducer. Okay, so figure below shows this. A and B figure will be showing you nothing but the arrangements of the capacitive transducer, where the capacitive change occurs because the change in the area and plates. So due to the change in the area and plates, the capacitor will be changing over here. Okay, so capacitive transducer using change in distance between the plates. The next one, here you can see in this next diagram, next one you can see over there, that is capacitive tachometer. Okay, we'll go to capacitive tachometer. So here this capacitive pickup tachometer, it will be consisting of a vane. You can see in the diagram, it will be having a vane. The next one, attached to one end of the rotating machine shaft. So here it is there, one rotating machine shaft will be there to it. Okay, when the shaft rotates between the filled capacitive plates, there occurs a change in the capacitance. So when the shaft, you can see over the rotating shaft, when the rotating shaft we vary, that time there will be change in the capacitance over here. Like this capacitive tachometer will work. Then next one is piezoelectric material. Okay, so this piezoelectric material is one in which an electric potential appears across certain surfaces of the crystal. Okay, if the dimension of the crystals are changed by application of mechanical force, the potential is produced. Okay, so here what will happen, whenever we apply some mechanical force, the potential will be produced by the displacement. Okay, so you will get the voltage over here. So here the elements exhibiting piezoelectric quantities are sometimes known as electroresistive elements. Okay, there are two main groups of piezoelectric crystal: natural crystals, or we can call it as a quartz, and synthetic crystals such as Rochelli salt, lithium sulfate, and dipotassium. Write it. Okay. Then next one, what are the desired properties of piezoelectric materials? They will be high stability, high output, intensity to temperature and humidity, then the ability to be formed into more desirable shape. Then working of piezoelectric device, how they will be working. So here you can see in the diagram, the crystal is there, and top and bottom there are electrodes. Okay, so when we apply the force on the electrodes, then what will happen, the typical mode. So over here, how much force we apply to the electrodes, depending upon the force of the force applied across the electrodes, there will be charge at the electrodes. That charges will give the voltage. So how much you will apply the force, that much charge will be there at the electrodes, and that much amount of voltage will be generated. Okay, in this. So here the advantages are high frequency response, small size, high output. Then disadvantages are output affected by changes in the temperature and cannot measure static condition. Okay. The next one, piezoelectric accelerometer. So here the figure you can see, that is a piezoelectric accelerator. Okay, so it consists of what? Piezoelectric crystal that it is sandwiched between two electrodes, and on top of that a mass is placed, and below it will be acting as a spring. Okay, so the base whose acceleration characteristics are obtained, so base will be, it acts as a spring and squeezes the mass against the crystal. It will squeeze the mass against the crystal. Okay, so here it will be working according to second law of motion, that is force is equal to mass into acceleration. So here acceleration in the upward direction would increase the force on the crystal in proportional to the acceleration. The resulting change in the output voltage is recorded. Okay, like this piezoelectric accelerometer will be working. So in this manner, this piezoelectric accelerometer will be working. Then advantages are small size, small weight, then they are high output impedance, then they can measure acceleration from a fraction. Okay, then they are high sensitivity, their frequency response is nearly 10 hertz to 50 hertz kilohertz. The disadvantages, unsuitable for applications where input frequency is lower than 10 hertz. So it is not suitable where the input frequency is less than 10 hertz. Then subject to hysteresis error, and it is sensitive to temperature changes. Okay, by this part 1 we will be completing. Then in next part we will be starting with the Hall effect transducer. Thank you.